Hey, it's Chuck Armstrong with Loudwire Nights, and this is Loudwire Nights On Demand. It was such a treat to get a hang with Serj Tankian of System of a Down again this year, man. This time around, we were celebrating his upcoming solo EP, Foundations. This first aired on Tuesday, August 20th. Enjoy. Tonight's special guest hung with us a few months ago as we celebrated the release of his memoir, Down with the System. And I remember that night fondly, man. It was such a privilege to get a hang, to get a dive deep into that book, and just to share time on the show with him. And, well, he's back, and I feel just as excited and just as grateful. System of a Down frontman, solo artist extraordinaire, author now, Serj Tankian. Serj, thank you so much for hanging tonight, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on again. It's good to see you again.
Absolutely, man. Well, listen, when you were on the show last and we dove into the memoir, you said it's easier to release an album than it is a book. This year you're doing both.
This year I'm doing both. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, we're getting closer and closer to the release of your solo EP, Foundations, out on September 27th. How are you feeling, man?
I'm feeling great. I'm happy to be sharing these songs, a lot of which have been in the vaults for a couple of decades, early System days with AF Day, and Justice Will Shine On is an old song as well that I've kind of redone. And so it's very exciting to finally get these songs out there.
Yeah. Is the whole EP like that? Like, are they all songs you've had in the vault for a while?
Yes. The newest one is probably from 2006, 2007.
Okay.
From the Elected Dead, or maybe the newest one is from the Harakiri days, which would be 2009, 2010.
Yeah.
So still, still wait. Yeah.
That's right, man. Were these songs always on your mind, or did something remind you of them recently? Because you've obviously got a wide body of work that spans even further than just System in your solo work. But were you always kind of thinking like about these songs, or did something happen where you're like, oh yeah, I have AF Day or I have Justice Will Shine On, and I want to do something with them?
A couple of things prompted me to put out this music. Number one, the book. So the book is such a retrospective of my life, history of my family, and all the music that I've been involved with, whether it's with System or solo. And so that kind of got me thinking about songs, what songs from which era, and, reviewing them, and, what's this first song I've ever sang on? What's the first song I've ever written? And, that kind of stuff. So it gives you this retrospective kind of view of your own musical life. So that was one of them. The second was, I had this old Prius that I kept around, even though I wasn't driving it, because it was the only thing that would verify my mixes in my studio. And I really desperately wanted to sell it because I was burning out of batteries all the time. Like, I kept on changing the batteries because I never would drive it. And so I needed to sell my Prius. So I started mixing 100 or so songs, stuff that I had with vocals that I just wanted to mix properly and have a good rough demo of. So, and these were some of them, to which I kind of made even better mixes later and stuff. But so it was a combination of selling the Prius and writing a book.
Yeah, totally makes sense, man. A typical journey to releasing an album.
Yeah, a typical day.
What was it about the Prius, man? Was it the sound system in it? Like what was it that?
Well, I just knew it. You know what they say? It's not what speakers you use; it's what you know best.
Yeah.
So I had this Prius from like 2009. And so I really knew it wasn't the best sound system, but I knew exactly, if I put in a mix of mine, I would immediately know if I need to do a high pass on the bass, or if I had to increase the snares, or like I could hear everything clearly. And if I made it sound great on those speakers, then I knew that it would sound great on any speaker.
That's right.
It's the same thing as the NS10s in studios, which professional mixers use, or the boombox effect. If you make it sound good on a shitty stereo, it's going to sound great on everything else.
That's right, man. That's right. Now, I always hear that there's two tests. There's the car test, what you do in the Prius, but then also the bar test. How does it sound with a crowd of people, and over those kind of speakers too? True.
Yeah, I didn't do that test yet. I just released it instead.
Did you end up selling the Prius?
Yes. Awesome. Immediately after finishing the last 102nd mix or whatever it was, I'm like, done. We're selling the Prius. No more batteries. But I love that car because I had 3 Priuses at one point, one in New Zealand and 2 here, and I just loved them. And yeah, it was time to get rid of them though.
Awesome, man. Well, listen, this new song, "Justice Will Shine On," it's a powerful one, and for longtime fans of System or people who have even just dove into your memoir, its subject matter shouldn't be a surprise. The Armenian genocide. And I think I know the answer to this, but I'm curious: did you have to update any lyrics or change any themes from the early version of this song that you had written in the '90s to what we hear today?
The only update was the chorus was added on in 2015 when I was considering doing it with System. In 2015, for the 100th commemoration of the genocides, we got together with System and we did a tour, kind of like a tour for awareness of the genocide. And we played in Armenia for the first time in 2015 in Republic Square, which was a monumental show. So before that, we got together and we tried to see if we could put out a couple of songs about the genocide. Darren had a good song that we were working on. And then I had this song that we were working on. And I had written the chorus right before then, the whole "Justice Will Shine On" chorus thing. But the original song goes back 25, 30 years, maybe even longer, the verses and all of that. And I haven't changed any of the lyrics.
Which, and that, I guess, speaks to the power of music, but also the travesty of something like the Armenian genocide, where it's an evergreen song, right? They're timeless lyrics that are just as powerful 30 years ago as they are today, and probably will be 30 years from today.
Unfortunately, genocide is still occurring today, so that makes it current. Unfortunately, I wish it was something where it sounded dated. I would have liked it to sound dated.
Do you feel a sense of pressure with a song like this, or like a burden almost? Like how do you sort of process these kinds of songs personally?
I process them more in terms of writing them. Releasing is an after effect for me, and I don't feel any pressure or responsibility there-wise, accordingly. So it's writing them and living them, when you're writing them, that is the big dramatic kind of, kind of thing that you go through, right? But once you release them, I think you just kind of detach, you let it go and let people hear it and let people make whatever they want out of it,
Yeah.
And that's how music should be. Yeah.
Is there closure with releasing it, or is it really more just that detachment from it?
With the song itself, yeah, there is closure because, you're no longer anticipating working on that, piece of music. Whether there's closure on genocide or not is a whole different conversation.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But regarding this song, you're like, okay, well, that's done. You walk away from it and whatnot, and you will never release everything that you compose, but you do want to be able to have kind of a nice body of work out there that's diverse and interesting as an artist, I think.
When System released "Protect the Land" and "Genocidal Humanoids," was "Justice Will Shine On" a potential candidate to be released by the band at that point?
No. So funny enough, "Justice Will Shine On" and one of Darren's songs, which I'm trying to remember what the name is, we worked on in 2015. And we were working on, we were sending each other notes, and then we got together in the rehearsal studio and we were jamming them out for potentially releasing them. But, we kind of decided not to at the time. There's a story having to do with that. And it has to do with, we played it for our producer, Rick Rubin, and at the time, and he didn't know if the first thing that we should release from System after being inactive for so many years were these songs. And I think that dissuaded the guys from releasing the two songs, Darren's song and my song. And so I decided to release it on my own.
Yeah. Not to get too deep into that, but was his reasoning because of the content of the songs or something else?
No, not at all. I don't think it's the content of the songs at all. I just, I think it's anticipation, and I've rarely ever agreed with my friend Rick because I see a lot of things in much the same light as he does, and he's amazing at what he does, but it was a time where I disagreed, and I said, no, I think we should release the song, because for me, the band's message has always been as important as the music. Yeah. And it was a good time to, get that message out. This is before the United States formally recognized the genocide in 2019 with Congress and Joe Biden properly recognizing the genocide. So it was an important time for activism for the cause. So, but it turned out that, not everyone felt the same way, and that's fine. That's what happens, four votes,
That's right. And here we are, man, celebrating the new song, hearing the new song. And
exactly. I'm happy to finally be able to see it come out. And people are really gravitating well, like really amazingly well toward it, actually, in terms of spins and reactions and social postings and all of that stuff. So it's good. It's good.
Is that surprising to you? Like this many years into all that you've done and doing all that you've done, do you still get surprised when a song like Justice Will Shine On has that kind of reaction?
Yes and no. I think, people are used to, I'd be surprised if I put out a piano concerto and it, spun a million in one day, right?
Fair point,
Which I do as well, I just mean that, when it's rock, there's definitely more gravitation coming from rock fans that are used to seeing me in that particular limelight. So yes and no.
Yeah. Well, talking about these songs in 2015 and Rick Rubin, you said, you said there's 4 votes. And when we last spoke, you mentioned the door is always open for system music, but you're 1/4 of the band, and it's not any one person's decision. And I know you've been doing a lot of interviews lately, whether it's for the new EP or for your memoir. And not surprisingly, everyone wants to know about the future of System of a Down.
Me too.
Well, so as those interviews come out and these questions get more and more light on them, and as other guys in the band are doing stuff too and doing interviews and getting asked, does all this press and all this attention, kind of new attention, not new, but fresh attention, does it jumpstart or change any conversations between the guys in the band?
Not really. No. I mean, we're an old steam engine. Like we do things the same, like it just, we meet up at rehearsals, crack some jokes, have some food, play our music, go play a show. Like it, we've known each other for so long. All of this is, one person's view coming out this way, one person's view coming out that way. There's truth in everything. And, it is what it is, I feel very privileged and lucky to have partners like I have that I've been working with for so long. And the idea that everyone has to agree on everything all the time, whether it's touring or recording or anything, is beyond me. I mean, for some people, they say, well, that's what a band is. It's one unit, one thing. No, it's not. No, not in my experience. I've been in it for 30 years and I've met hundreds, if not thousands of other bands. And that's just not how it is, and but it's great to find a compromise in a way of, even if we only do what all 4 of us want to do, and that might be 1 show a year or 2 shows a year or one anything event or non-event or recording or whatever, I'm happy with that, because it is what it is. Like, It's a beautiful thing. Look, there are bands that tour all year round that make a record every year or 2 years, and their impact on music, a lot of them have not been as strong as System of a Down's. You don't need to do a million things to have an impact on people's lives or music itself. You need to do one thing right,
That's it. That's it, man. It's a good way to put it. And yeah, it's a trope, but quality over quantity. Whatever that quantity might be, or whatever that quality is, that certainly is true. And there's almost a sense of not doing all of that just makes what you do that much better or that much more important or that much more significant.
Absolutely. We've discussed playing shows and all of that. And I've been very clear. I'm not a huge fan of consistent touring for many, many reasons, and I won't go into that now because I've talked about it before many times, but it's almost like when we do play just single shows here and there, it makes it so fun, man. It's the fun that was missing in touring for me, just having it be an event. It becomes special, and the funny thing is the value of the band on the, in terms of touring has grown exponentially the less we've toured. There's these bands touring like crazy and they're not headlining and they tour every like 200 shows a year. And it's like, maybe you should stop for a little bit or whatever. I don't know. I mean, we're not playing the game of supply and demand. We're just doing what we as human beings our own lives, right? And it just turns out that way, the way that it turns out.
Yeah.
Not everyone's happy with the situation of not doing a lot of tours or not recording, obviously, within the band, but it is what it is. But there is something to be said about having things be an event rather than a constant.
Well, not being a fan of constant touring, and yeah, you've talked about it, and in your memoir, you talk about it a lot too. Are there plans for solo shows around the release of Foundations?
We've mulled it over. There's so much going on in life right now for me that it's something that I haven't committed to, possibly maybe one or two. Maybe an event, but it's not something that has been yet decided.
Awesome.
So
all right.
if I do, I'll enjoy it. And yeah, I mean, that kind of a thing, just an event.
Yeah. Right on, man. Well, Serj, thank you so much for hanging, man.
Yeah, thank you. Seeing you again.
Yeah, you too, man. I've been praising your memoir. I'm evangelizing it every chance I get, and I'll do it again right now. Go pick up Serj Tankian's memoir, Down with the System. It is such a powerful read for so many reasons. It's more than a simple story about a band, but it certainly is a story about a band, but so much more too. And now, get ready for Serj's solo EP, Foundations, out on September 27th. Serj, I can't wait to keep seeing and hearing all that's on the horizon for you, man. And listen, I hope this becomes a regular thing. You're welcome back on the show.
I like seeing you every 2 weeks saying hi. Yeah.
Awesome. Serj, so good to see you, man.
Likewise, Chuck. Thanks, brother.
That wraps up this episode of Loudwire Nights on Demand. Stay caught up with everything happening in the world of rock and metal on the Loudwire app and at loudwire.com.